All right, what's up? Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year for that matter. This is my first time on in 2018, so I hope everybody's doing great. Hope everybody had a good holiday and is back and rocking and rolling and feeling good. So a couple weeks ago, I chatted about my dad, and it was a really fun conversation. I was parked off the side of I-25, and it was just kind of just telling some stories about the old man and in sort of the incredible level of success he had, considering kind of where he started out at. And it was really, really fun to have that conversation. What was really fun was what's up, Mark? Was all the conversation that followed. So probably more than any episode I've done in a long time. Many of you reached out to ask more questions and more information. And it really allowed for some fun back and forth dialogue. Hey, what's up, Nick? One of the things the questions focused on the most was this idea that I talked about where, my dad with his crew at the engineering company had the ability to really know when to step on it. So one of the characteristics that we sort of unpacked that was explaining my dad's success was that he really had that uncanny ability to know when to over-deliver. Right? Because you can't over-deliver all the time, right? You're going to wear yourself out. You're going to wear your crew out. But my dad had that uncanny ability to know when and how to over-deliver. And many of you kind of reached back out to me and said, but Jeff, how did he get his crew to over-deliver? So a few of you are probably going to jump on here that I've chatted with over the past couple weeks. And the people who reached out tended to be managers or clinic owners. And it was a really sincere question of, certainly if you can figure out when to over-deliver and do it, you're going to make huge gains. But how do you get your crew to over-deliver when you need them to? How do you get that kind of loyalty among your troops that when you say, guys, the next few weeks are going to be tough. Like, we're going to be burning the midnight oil. We're going to be going double time. It's going to be a lot of time away from your families. How do you get everyone to say, oh, you bet? How do you get everyone to hold rank? And that really, really caused me to think. And I appreciate the questions and the conversations that followed. And I've thought a lot about it. How did my dad create that kind of loyalty and inspire that kind of common sense to mission that when he said it's time to drop the hammer, everybody turned and dropped the hammer? So the first part is obvious. All the things we talked about last session, and I will post that last video underneath this one, once I put this up so everybody can catch up if they haven't caught part one. But all the things that my dad did with his customers to inspire their loyalty and to build the that really authentic relationship that we talked about with them, he did the same thing with his staff, right? So he was a true servant leader. We talked about the importance of timeliness for the customers. Well, you can be certain that same thing carried over to the way that my dad treated his staff. I mean, he was always first guy there, always last guy to leave. The same way he treated his customers that inspired such great loyalty, he treated his staff, which tends to inspire great loyalty, right? People are people, right? It doesn't matter in what capacity you're forming the relationship. Relationships are relationships, right? You're the same relationships. People who are great at developing relationships with their patients are great at developing relationships with their colleagues, right? People that authentically care about people and know how to demonstrate that and know how to value that tend to thrive across the board. So that holds true. But there's two other things that I think in particular created a type of loyalty that was unique, that allowed their organization to over-deliver on demand, unlike any other. The first one, and probably the most important, was that my dad was always willing to do the worst jobs. Like, always willing to do the worst jobs. I have so many moments of humility working alongside him. Here's a great example. So we were doing a job right out in Escanaba in a town about an hour away from where I grew up. And it was an area that was well outside of town. It was very swampy, right? And we were standing, me and another younger guy, who was on staff, we were standing there looking down at the swamp, wondering if we could get through it. There were thorn bushes everywhere. It was a miserable day. It's always buggy in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And we were kind of like, man, this is going to suck. And we're sitting there strategizing and wondering if we should, put on another layer so that we're not getting too cut up. And my dad, who's kind of like a bowling ball of a guy, he just, everywhere he went fast, he went hard, and he just ran by us. grabbed the survey rod out of my hand and just barged into the swamp. And that was just classic the old man, right? Dude's got shorts on, legs are getting ripped up like crazy, right? But the point is, he didn't even think about it. Like, he knew it was going to be miserable, and in some weird way, he loved that, right? And the point was, it left you standing there on the road feeling kind of like a wimp, you know, but in a good way, because now you were inspired because you knew that you could do it, right? And that was such a unique characteristic. And I think that really speaks to leadership, and that his willingness to just simply do all of the terrible things that nobody else wanted to do, or all the things that no one thought they could do, it created this interesting feeling inside of you where at once it made you weaker and stronger. It made you feel weaker momentarily because you're like, oh man, I should have just done it. Like, he just walked by and knocked it out without even thinking about it. But it made you feel stronger because now you knew you could. And I think great leaders have that incredible capacity, right? They make you shine that internal light on yourself that for a moment almost makes you feel kind of weak, because they did it without any apprehension. But right behind that weakness is a much deeper strength, because now you realize it can be done, and that you should not have even been considering or doubting it for a moment that it could be done, because look, it can clearly be done. So really, that moment of weakness, which actually inspires great strength, I think is an incredible characteristic of a leader. I could recount for you all dozens of these stories, right? I remember one time I was standing outside by Annie's Trading Post, which is outside in Florence, about a half hour from my hometown. And we were doing a job in the middle of winter. Now I'm all bundled up, right? I'm standing there it's freezing cold. It's always I think it's miserably cold in Michigan right now, but it's always miserable, right? And I'm standing out there with the survey rod. So my dad's holding the gun. I'm holding the rod, and we're out there for like an hour. I am freezing cold. I've got a sweatshirt. I've got long johns. I've got Carhartt, everything. My old man's over there in a sweatshirt, no jacket, right? And he calls me on the radio because we were too far away to talk. And he says, "Hey, Jeffro, why don't you hop in the truck and warm up?" And I needed to, right? Like, I was freezing cold. But yeah, Mitch, I've heard it's horrible over there right now. But the point was, my dad didn't need to warm up, and he's standing over there in a sweatshirt. I've got like 9 layers on, right? And so again, it's just that it made you want to work harder. I didn't get in the truck to warm up, because I'm not going to get in the truck to warm up if the guy's over there wearing half the clothes I am, and he's been out there twice as long, and he's not going to get in the truck. So again, the fact that he's standing out there in the freezing cold, doing the worst job with you, just inspires a tremendous desire to not let him down, right? In that constant, you knew if you didn't do it, he would. And you didn't want to see him have to do it because you know that he shouldn't have to do it, right? The guy was leading the group, but you know he'd be the first one to do it if he had the chance or the opportunity. So I think my dad's willingness to do the worst jobs without even thinking about it, without making a big deal out of it, not trying to teach you a lesson, just doing it because it has to be done. Like, when you have a leader that does that, all of a sudden your willingness to do those undesirable jobs skyrockets, because you don't want to see him walk in and do it because you know that he will, and you know he shouldn't have to. So I think that characteristic really created a lot of loyalty among the staff. And I think, going forward in every organization I've ever seen, when you have a leader who's like that, you don't see them having to nag their staff to do all the jobs that need to be done, because people get it done because they know you would if you could. And so I think that was a huge lesson. But there's one other big one I want to share before I go. And that was my dad's incredible ability to convey vision. All right. So obviously any leader, if they're going to get a group of individuals rallied around a common purpose and execute, they need to be able to relay what that vision is, right? But it's not just the ability to relay it. What I saw in my dad all those years was the ability to make the impossible seem possible. Like, a job would come up that we didn't have the staff for, and we knew a bigger engineering company was probably better suited. And everyone would kind of start doubting the idea of, like, we probably can't bid on that because, we only have, 16 of us, and you think about where it is and how much travel. And all of a sudden, my dad would turn and look at it from a different angle and explain to us how it was going to get done. And he would get done, and you were like, I think we can do that. And just 20 minutes ago, you were like, there's no way. Like, we don't have the resources. There's no way we're going to be able to pull this off, right? And so he would turn and talk, and by the time he got done, you were like, I don't even know why I was doubting it in the first place. We're a couple key investments away from making this happen. But it wasn't just making the impossible seem possible. That was important. But what he did was he made every single person who was involved in the mission feel that they were critically important to the success. And that went from the person who was lead on the job all the way down to the person who was running lines, who was doing the most basic, fundamental, unsexy aspect of the job. He made that person feel like if you're not there, we're never going to be able to pull this off. It was unbelievable how, regardless of what your task was in the mission, my dad made you feel like you had the most important job to do. Didn't matter if you were running to get coffee, didn't matter if you were getting the equipment set up for the team, whatever your menial task was, my dad had an incredible ability to make you feel like it was extraordinarily important. And that is what allowed for the over-delivery. Because everybody felt like they had purpose. Everyone felt like, hey, Jim's really counting on me. Harvey's counting on me. I gotta do this right. And if everybody feels that way, and everyone believes that the impossible is possible, and everybody wants to do bad jobs because they know that you'll step up and do it. When all of those pieces click into place, you have a team that can accomplish something that others simply cannot. And those are the things that I would say that my dad really did that allowed their organization to pull off things that a company their size never should have been able to pull off. You know, and I think they're just things that really reflected his character and reflected leadership in the deepest way. You know, and one thing I'll add, I swear I'll sign off here in 2 minutes. I see my timer counting. But one thing I'll add is that, guys, this all comes down to character. Right? I think there's way too much talk about strategy and not enough talk about character, right? Your character will reveal your strategy, right? And I really want everyone to think about that a little bit, because if you're trying to lead through strategy and you're trying to lead through thinking about the way that you're going to do things well, you're going to have an endpoint. That's going to have a defined endpoint and a defined ceiling, right? Really figure out who you are and let your character define your strategy, right? That's what I think the old man did for all those years, right? They weren't real tactical about thinking about, oh, we're going to do it this way, or we're going to do this and that'll set us apart from other companies. They said, this is who we are as people. This is what we believe in. Treating people this way, doing things this way, the willingness to do those jobs no one wants to do, right? The ability to lock shields and believe the person next to you is as or more important than you are. This is who we are as people. And now we're just going to bring that into every situation. And that understanding of our character will outline our strategy. Right? So really think about that a little bit. You know, I only say that because someone reached out to me yesterday and said, hey, Jeff, it's really cool that you guys do these workouts on Saturday night at all of your live courses. Like, what a great idea to get people interested in your CMFA curriculum, our fitness athlete curriculum. And I literally laughed out loud. And I thought, yeah, we're not strategizing that, hey guys, if we work out on Saturday nights, like we can talk about our CMFA courses and more people will take. We're working out on Saturday nights because we honestly believe that exercising together matters. We honestly believe that moving is mentally and physically important. We honestly believe that working out is fun. And that doing it creates a bond that we enjoy. It's who we are. It's not a strategy. It's our character. And I think if you find your character and you let that define your strategy, you're going to see a lot higher levels of success. So don't mimic other people. Be who you are and be at 120%. And I promise you, that was what defined my dad's success, and it's what's going to define yours. Everyone, have a killer day. I'm out of here to Florida tomorrow. I am booked for the first 22 weekends this year. So I'll be on a flight every weekend, for the next 4 months. So I hope I see many of you all over the country. Other than that, have a fantastic day. If you're treating patients, serve them well. If you're not, do whatever you're doing 125%. I'll see you guys on the other side.